All right, welcome everybody. This is our weekly Tikva Through Text program where we study for half an hour on something related to hope. And I'm really excited this week to study hope and resilience with Rabbi Mati Kirschenbaum. He is the rabbi of Temple Beth Tikva. There we go. We need a little Tikva in our lives, right? Temple Beth Tikva in Orange County, California, where he served for about 2 years. But he's originally from Europe. And I'm just going to share my screen here so that we can say the blessing for study. If you would like, you can unmute now and we'll say this blessing together, and then we'll turn things over to Rabbi Kirschenbaum to lead our conversation. Please join me. Baruch
Baruch
atah
atah
Adonai,
Adonai,
Eloheinu
Eloheinu
melech
melech
haolam,
haolam,
asher
asher
kiddushanu
kishanu b'mitzvotav
b'mitzvotav,
v'tzivanu
v'tzivanu
la'asok
la'asok
b'divrei
b'divrei
Torah.
Torah. Blessed is the one whose mitzvot make our lives holy, and who commands us to immerse ourselves, to engage ourselves in words of Torah. And with that, let me turn things right over to my colleague, Rabbi Mati Kirschenbaum. Take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to lead this class for you. I'm joining you from Orange County, California, southeast of LA, where it's raining today, which doesn't happen very often. So we're very excited about it. And today we're going to explore some texts that you might know or might be completely new to you, but we're going to explore them through the angle of resilience. I feel that that very often we talk about a hope, about a feeling, but I feel that really to have hope as an orientation and have a sustained hope, we need resilience in our life, and we need texts that nourish our soul. And I personally, when I look for resilience, I don't necessarily look for texts that give me hope, or God promising me that everything will be all right. Some people look for hope in Psalms, which says, which often are a way of pleading to God to help us, or promising that things will turn out just fine in the end. But I look for texts that first of all show other characters from our tradition who experienced difficult challenges, and also look for texts that highlight our agency in all of this. And the only thing that it's not on the source sheet today that we're going to discuss is the Hebrew word for resilience. Does anyone know how to say resilience in Hebrew? So anyone? So there are there's a number of words, of course.
Hosen nafshi.
What's
Hosen nafshi.
Hosen nafshi is the most popular one. That's amazing. But there's the other one.
I looked it up.
Yeah, but it's the other one that I like, and the one that it will be easier for you to remember because it's amidut. So the ability to stand or withstand situations. And like Amidah, our main prayer, during which we stand in amidut, so ability to literally withstand things. Even in English we have this, this idea that resilience involves withstanding. So so the first text that I look to when I think about resilience, when I feel that the times are not easy, comes from Tractate Sanhedrin, and comes from a section of Tractate Sanhedrin that deals with the coming of the messianic age. So when will the Messiah come? That's a big topic there in Tractate Sanhedrin, even though it's not the primary focus of this tractate, because it deals with, as the name implies, with the dealings of the Sanhedrin, of the ancient rabbinic court. So so in this tractate, we have Rabbi Yochanan say the following: if you saw a generation whose wisdom and Torah study is steadily diminishing, await the coming of the Messiah, as it is stated, and the afflicted people you'll redeem. 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 28. So there's this idea here in Tractate Sanhedrin that maybe it's darkest before dawn, and maybe things seem rough and tough. Maybe that's a sign that the Messianic age, the big breakthrough, is on the way. And then Rabbi Yochanan continues. If you saw a generation whose troubles inundated like a river, await the coming of the Messiah, as it is stated, when distress will come like a river, then the breath of the eternal drives. And juxtaposed to it is the verse, and a redeemer will come to Zion. So here these verses basically tell us, well, things are really rough, then a redeemer will come. So so if Messiah needs to come as a redeemer, then it means we need to be redeemed. If we need to be redeemed, then things are rough. And then if the things are rough, you shall expect a certain positive change. And of course, it's a classic hope giver, but I look to it nevertheless, remembering that sometimes in times of distress and in difficult times, new opportunities arise, and people take on themselves the task to dream up a better world and organize to create a better world. So so this is where I start my looking for hope, and then I look further in the same tractate, actually on the same page, to the story of looking for a Messiah, an actual search for the Messiah, and the search, of course, involves none else than our Elijah the prophet, who you know from the Passover Seder, and Eliyahu Hanavi, the song after the Havdalah, and they're interested in, this time, not giving Elijah a cup of wine, but asking Elijah about the Messiah. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi found Elijah the prophet, who was standing at the entrance of the burial cave of Rabbi Shimon ben or Bar Yochai. So one of the biggest sages of early rabbinic Judaism. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said to him, "Will I be privileged to come to the world to come?" So so he meets the Elijah, and what's he's interested in? He's interested in finding out that if he's good enough to merit the world to come. But you can read it both ways, which one way is, oh, when I pass away, will I go to the good place, or will I merit to come to the world to come, in my lifetime? Will the world to come soon? And Elijah said to him, "If this master, the Holy One, blessed be God, will wish it so." So if God wishes it so. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, "Two, I saw Elijah and me, and I heard the voice of three, as the divine presence was also there, and was in reference to this voice that Elijah said, if this master will wish it so." So God is also present there. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said to Elijah, "When will the Messiah come?" Elijah said to him, to Yehoshua ben Levi, "Go ask him." So go ask the Messiah. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi asked, "And where is the Messiah sitting?" Elijah said to him, "At the entrance of the city of Rome." Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi asked him, "And what is his identifying sign by means of which I can recognize him?" Elijah answered, "He sits among the poor who suffer from illnesses." And all of them untied their bandages and tied them all at once. But the Messiah unties one bandage and ties one at a time. He says, "Perhaps I will be needed to serve to bring about the redemption." So we have our rabbi who wants to go and find who wants to go to find the Messiah, and he goes to the grave of Shimon Bar Yochai. The grave of Shimon Bar Yochai is in Meron, not far away from Har Meron, the mountain of Meron, which is the highest peak in Israel outside of the Golan Heights. And he's told that that Messiah will wait for him in Rome, and the Messiah is sitting among people who suffer from illnesses that require bandages, so leprosy and other skin diseases, and the people there, when the bandages need changing, they unwrap them all, and then they're not in a place where they could respond to anyone, but the Messiah unwraps one bandage at a time because he wants to be ready to bandage himself up and come help people in time of need. And then the question is, why Rome? Well, Rome at this time is a ruling power. Rome has conquered the land of Israel, and so the Rome is synonym of everything that is bad and foreign to the people of Israel, and yet Messiah is sitting there at the gate of Rome, and sitting there with those who are afflicted, with those who might be seen as impure, with those who are the most unfortunate and excluded. So the moral of the story is, first of all, one should look for hope and a Messiah in unlikely places, but also one should look for the hope and Messiah by opening up to the possibility of sitting and being with the most vulnerable and excluded. And then the Messiah says, "Therefore, I will never tie more than one bandage, so that I will not be delayed." Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi went to the Messiah. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi follows this advice of Elijah and goes all the way to Rome. Remember, he's in the north of Israel, so it's a very long journey. He said to the Messiah, "Greetings to you, my rabbi and teacher." The Messiah said to him, "Greetings to you, the son of Levi." Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said to him, "When will the master come?" So that's an Aramaic for when will you come, my Lord? The Messiah said to him, "Today." Sometime later, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi came to Elijah. Elijah said to him, "What did the Messiah say to you?" He said to Elijah that the Messiah said, "Greetings, shalom to you, son of Levi." Elijah said to him, "He thereby guarantees that you and your father will enter the world to come, as he greeted you with shalom." So you will be resting in peace in the world to come as when you pass away. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said to Elijah, "The Messiah lied to me, as he said to me, 'I'm coming today,' and he did not come." Elijah said to him that this is what he said to you. He said that he will come today if you will listen to his voice. Hayom im bekolot ishmau, which is one of the psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat. So the moral of the story is Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi expects that if he just goes there to Messiah and he just says hi, and the Messiah says hi to him, and he asks him, "Oh, well, I go to the world to come because I'm so awesome and righteous," he thinks that it is enough for the Messiah to come today. But Elijah then explains to him that this is not enough, that one should go for a journey to find the Messiah, even if it means going to an unlikely place and being with the people who one usually would not associate with, people who are underprivileged. But just going to see them is not enough. One actually needs to see them and help them and open up to them, just like Messiah did. Only then will the Messiah come. Just virtue signaling is not going to cut it. And I feel particularly right now, when we have many underprivileged groups under attack, this message is very powerful. It's not enough to just repost that we oppose policies or voices that demonize them. We need to do more. We need to show real solidarity. Virtue signaling or liking posts that criticize certain hateful voices is just not enough. Resilience requires action. And then the text that I'm sure you know, but I always return to this text over and over again when I yes.
If it's okay, I just wanted to relate this to something that Janet put into the chat, who was asking about, is this a Messiah or a Messianic age? And of course, the rabbis are talking about a Messiah. Liberal Jews tend to think of in terms of a Messianic age. But I always see that in the text you just showed us that the connection is that the idea of the Messiah will come today if we hear God's voice. In other words, that the task of bringing a Messianic age falls not on the Messiah, but on the people to hear God's voice, which means to do the work of Tikkun Olam, to repair the world. So I see this as actually a foundational text for the liberal Jewish idea of Messiah, that where our job is not just to wait, but actually to do the work ourselves.
I fully agree, and I feel like one could say that Messiah will come today if we listen to Messiah's voice, and I see it as an idea of a collective Messiah, that each of us has this piece of the Messianic age, that we, if we listen to this voice, and that the collective Messiah of us, of our sparks of the divine will bring in the Messianic age, and and that means that in a way we'll all be a part of the Messiah. So you can call it a Messianic age, or you can call it, as I like to call it, a collective Messiah. United sparks of the divine in all of us. And then speaking of these sparks of the Messianic age in us, and actually one could say the origin story of Elijah's advice are in the first book of Kings, chapter 19. And it's a story when Elijah calls out Ahab and Jezebel, the evil power couple, the evil king and queen who prophesies Baal. When Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he put all the prophets of Baal to the sword, Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, "Doesn't more may God do to you if this by tomorrow you if I have not made you like one of them." So she tells him, "Well, I may God strike me if I don't make an end to you." So he fled at once for his life. He came to Beersheba, which is in Judah, and left his servant there. He himself went in a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom brush and sat down under it and prayed that he might die. "Enough," he cried. "Now, O Eternal One, take my life, for I am no better than my predecessor." So I failed. He lay down and fell asleep under a broom brush. Suddenly an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." He looked about, and there beside his head was a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. He ate and drank and lay down again. The angel of God came a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, or the journey will be too much for you." He arose and ate and drank, and with the strength from that meal, he walked 40 days and 40 nights as far as the mountain of God at Horeb. There he went to the cave, and there he spent the night. And then the word of God came to him. "Why are you here, Elijah?" He replied, "I am moved by zeal for the eternal, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to the sword. I alone am left, and they are out to take my life. Come out," God called, "and stand on the mountain before God." And lo, God passed by. There was a great and mighty wind, splitting mountains and shattering rocks by God's power. But God was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, fire, but God was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice, or how I like to translate it, a sound of silence. So we have this story of Elijah basically feeling really discouraged and depressed, and he's willing to die. And an angel appears and first of all gives him something to eat and drink, and forces him to eat and drink. And I think very often when we are discouraged in the world, and depressed, we might neglect, our most basic needs. And here the resilience starts of taking care of your body, of the very basic needs. And after he has eaten and drank, then he's able to go. But he still has this existential crisis, and he's looking for like a spectacular way of an existential crisis. He's looking for what I call the fireworks of meaning. Suddenly, he will have a revelation, and that's going to heal him from this existential crisis. And God shows him that this is not how it works. That that the way out of existential crisis or a period of doubt and despair is the small still little voice. So that can be like a small voice in our mind that tells us what to do next. So the meaning is something that we construct from something that comes from little things, and from this sense of purpose that might seem insignificant, and not we should not expect that suddenly things will change externally, that the external circumstances will give us this profound sense of meaning. So the meaning starts from inside, from making a decision to find meaning and resilience. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his mantle about his face and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then a voice addressed him and asked the same question again. Why are you here, Elijah? And he answered, I am moved by the zeal of the eternal, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken the covenant, torn down your altars, and have put your prophets to the sword. I alone am left, and they are out to take my life. God said to him, go back by the way of you came on the way to Damascus, and then anoint different kings and so on. I will leave, and then he says, I will appoint you a replacement slash a disciple. And then Elijah sets out from there and came up upon Elisha, son of Shaphat, as he was plowing. There were 12 yokes of oxen ahead of him, and he was with the 12. Elijah came over to him and threw his mantle over him. He left the oxen and ran after Elijah, saying, let me kiss my father and mother goodbye, and I will follow you. And he answered, go back, I'm not stopping you. Elisha turned back from him and took the yoke of the oxen and slaughtered them. He boiled their meat using the yoke as firewood and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he arose and followed Elijah and became his attendant. So the moral of the story is we're less, first of all, Elijah is still skeptical if there's anyone who will follow him and anyone who actually shares his values. But when God tells him go back, he finds out soon that there is somebody who's willing to throw away a luxury. Because let me tell you, all these oxen, it is equivalent of having multiple Teslas standing in your driveway. And not that Tesla is my preferred brand these days, but so Elisha is willing to leave it all behind to follow him. So there might be more people in your corner than you think, if we're only open to ask for help and ask around and look for them. So that always gives me some hope that first of all, when I feel alone, that there are those who can support me. And then also the lesson for resilience is the resilience starts from taking care of one's physical needs, then realizing that big breakthrough will not start. So taking on an attitude of resilience, and then asking for help to create a community of people committed to resilience and standing for one's values. And then I feel that the last element of resilient hope is realizing that there are those who need us, and we need to be resilient and hopeful for them. And the text that I always bring here is a poem which was written in Polish originally by a Polish Jewish poet, Julian Tuwim, called Prayer. and this poem in Britain, where I went to rabbinical school, is actually one of the poems that are suggested texts, kavanot, or intentions before the actual prayer. So one can start one's morning prayer from this poem. And this is what Julian Tuvim has to say, and this is what the poem says. And sorry for the masculine language. The poem was written in the late 1940s. So the God language, this refers to God as Lord here. So that's what Tuvim says. Prayer. My Lord, my prayer goes forth. My Lord, my heart sings out to the hurt of the humiliated, to those who await and who tremble, to the eternal departure of those whom death has embraced, which you can only also translate as to the non-return of the dead, to those who perish all helpless, to the sorrow of the misunderstood, to those who petition in vain, to the ridiculed, the insulted, to the stupid, the wicked, small-hearted, to those who run, lose their breath, seeking the doctor's cold touch, to those who return to their homes with their hearts beating a quiver, to the jostled, insulted, to those booed of the stage, to the boring, the ugly, the awkward, to the weak, the trampled, the tortured, to those whom slumber eludes, to those whom the pharmacists expect, to those whose trains have departed, to all those who inhabit our world, to all their troubles and worries, their aches, their hurts, their distress, to their unease and their pain, their longings, their failures, to every tremor, the slightest, which their misfortunes foretell, let eternal happiness shine upon them. My Lord, my heart sings out. My Lord, my prayer goes forth. So that this poem reminds me that I need to be resilient because there are those who need my strength, but also that I am one of many people who are struggling, and compassion for them, and realization that they're struggling to kind of help me go out of my silo of, oh, poor me, and actually then focus on shared suffering and ways to alleviate that. I know it's 9:28, but if anyone has comments or questions, it will be wonderful if you share them.
Feel free to raise your hands, or you can put comments into the chat. We can use our last couple of minutes for responses, reactions to the texts. I see Cheryl's hand.
Yeah, I want to comment on the poem. There's a number of lines here that are talking about very negative categories of people, and wondering if the author really meant to imply that the people were these categories, or that they were considered to be these categories by others.
That's an excellent question, and the answer is the poet very deliberately uses derogatory terms that these people are described as for shock value. So he's saying one could read this one could also translate it as the poor, the stupid, in quotation marks, so his heart goes out to those who are labeled with these monikers.
Yeah, because a lot of times with these kinds of labels, people begin to feel like they really are those labels when they're called those labels. If you're called stupid enough times, you feel like that you are stupid.
That's true. I think I think the poet here, that will be this line of thinking that you cannot change the situation without acknowledging how people are called, even if it's a derogatory term. So one way of reading it would be, you know, these derogatory terms or harsh terms in quotation marks, to show that they are the groups that are called this, that this is not what these people really are.
So I think we're just about out of time. We have time for one more comment from Janet.
Okay, I noticed that throughout the poem, the word "my Lord" was used. And when we, our prayer book, we're a conservative synagogue, although not affiliated with the conservative movement. My rabbi is a Reconstructionist trained rabbi. I'll give that thing. But whenever he sees Lord in our Siddur, which is a little old, he changes it to Adonai, as is his preference for speaking of God through a Jewish lens. And I just wondered thoughts about, did it used to be my Lord? Do different streams of Judaism still use my Lord? Or is it just a rabbi's personal preference?
I think it's a big question. I feel that my Lord. So in English translations or in Orthodox Siddurim, I have seen my Lord. In all the older style conservative movement, there was, you're right, there was a lot of my Lord. In the Reform movement, we either use Adonai or we use the Eternal, which is my personal preference, eternal from the concept of eternity. And the eternal comes from the idea that the four letters are very close to the verb to be. And, you know, and God is Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I will be who I will be. Manifest, it's God's self to Moses. So there's this idea that God is eternal, and these letters can be rendered as eternal. So that's, you know, Lord is there still. God in Orthodoxy, there's also God, God without an O, with a hyphen there, you know, and or in Orthodoxy there's also Hashem, the name, but and now in the Reform movement there's that's correct, Adonai and the Eternal. So many ways to describe the same entity that eludes us.
So I
Thank
hate
you.
to cut it off, but because we're having such an interesting conversation, but we are over our time. I want to thank Rabbi Mati Kirschenbaum for this interesting discussion. Rabbinic texts and biblical texts and a modern text that really all speak about what it means to build a community of resilience, which I think is what many of us need in these challenging times. So thank you to Rabbi Kirschenbaum. Thank you to all of us. Thank you to all of you for being here, for participating in this discussion. And we will see you again next week. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Have a good
Shabbat
week.
shalom.